Hello, welcome, and today I'm going to show you how to utilize the Twitter API on on OBS Studio with Python. So how do we get started? There are just a couple things you need to get started here. So what you want to do is you want to navigate and not navigate. You want to download OBS Studio and Python and the Twitter API. So let's start at the first place here. Before we get to this here, go and open up a new tab and go ahead and type in here OBS Studio. So we'll open that up. And what is OBS Studio? It's essentially a way to record your screen and to stream to platforms like Twitch, like YouTube as well. I'm using it right now to record this recording. So yeah, I think it's really great. I would highly recommend it. And what's really nice about OBS Studio is you could add additional scripts. So like Python or the programming language Lua, you can create scripts that add additional functionality to those streams, recordings, so on and so forth. And so yeah, so this is what I'm going to be using here, OBS Studio. And actually I have in my notes here. I should probably state the goal of this project. Should I start over? No, I'm just going to start from here. The goal of the project is whenever I start streaming to Twitch, I have this issue where I don't want to say necessarily I forget, but I want to let my followers on Twitter know, hey, I'm going to be streaming on Twitch. Come and check it out, if you want to check it out there. So essentially what I'm going to be using with OBS is I'm going to be utilizing this script system that is available in OBS to go ahead and tweet out my followers with Python, the Python programming language, and with the Twitter API tools that are available if you just sign up. And again, everything is free. It's really nice, and it's a really good way to practice programming APIs and with working with third-party software scripting environments, I would say, because OBS has some funny things you can kind of work with there. Anyways, let's continue here. So you can download OBS. I'm going to be using Windows in my case, so I already have it installed, but if you don't have it installed, go ahead and download it here. Next, you're going to be going over to Python. So specifically for this project, you need to make sure that you have Python 3.6 installed, and I'll navigate. So I have this, I'll put this in the description for the video, but this link is going to show the project. So I already built a project here, so I'm not going to do live coding today because it's good. It took me a while to do this and kind of figure it out myself. But you can go to this repository, and again, I'll put the link in the description. And I have prerequisites, I have installation, customization. The video tutorial is going to go here, obviously. And here's some references. So specifically, you can go click on this link, install Python 3.6.8. I'll put this in the description. And once you navigate to this site, go to the very bottom. And you want to download the installer based on your machine. So I have an x64 Windows operating system. So I downloaded the installer here. You can download the web-based installer. That's the easiest version. If you download the executable or the embeddable, usually that means you could install it to other computers in your system. But web-based is probably the easiest one. So I'd highly recommend that one. And there's one right there. And in addition to that, you also need to get access to the Twitter API. So again, we can go back to my repository here on GitHub and click on this Twitter API link. And once you're here, you can sign up for the Twitter API. If you already have a Twitter account, it's going to be really easy for you or as far as I'm aware, because you have an account already, which is really nice. And there's a lot of decent information here on to tell you how to utilize the API, fundamentals, tweets. I think what I did initially was I went to fundamentals, and I just want to learn how to tweet out something to people, So you can go to tweets, and so it took me a while to figure it out, but I found that the way you can actually tweet out things is by clicking this manage tweets. It's under this manage tweets section here. And so you have two available methods. You can manage tweets, so you can post and delete. Post lets you post polls, quote tweets, tweet with reply settings, so on and so forth. But so basically you're just tweeting out actual updates essentially to your account, or you can delete tweets. But for the purpose of this tutorial is going to be just tweeting out information. So I already have an app to create it. So you have to create an app once you sign up for the API. So I'm going to go to my developer portal, and under projects and apps, you'll notice I have Twitch app 123 and all these other names here. So I'm going to go to here, and I'm not going to show you my API keys. Well, hopefully I won't. If I do, I'll probably have to blur it out in the video. So you're going to see these app details and keys and tokens. If I go to this, it's not going to show you anything. It's never going to show it ever again. So make sure you copy everything once you have done it. But you want to make sure that you copy these keys. So get your API key in secret, and you also need your access token in secret. For this specific project, I don't think you need the bearer token. You can utilize it for other API calls. So, go ahead and copy that. And you can see here that I have read and write permissions. The way that you can set that is you want to go to settings, and you want to go to this user authentication settings. And once you click on edit, you can allow OAuth 1.0. And we only need OAuth 1.0 for this case. I think you could also utilize 2.0, but that requires the user to sign in. But in this case, we don't really want that. We just want to use it ourselves. Luckily, the Twitter API comes with keys. So the tokens you got earlier, they're a reference for your own account. So if you're making an application for other people to utilize, then you would probably utilize OAuth 2.0 and OAuth 1.0a in its full extent. But in this case, you don't need to worry about have to redirect anywhere. It will ask you, so make sure to click this read and write section, but it will ask you for redirect URI and a website URL. In my case, because I'm tweeting myself and not making an app for someone else to tweet, I don't need to actually have a website. So in my case, I just put example.com because I'm never actually going to use it, but this is required, so make sure you put something here. And then once you do that, you can save, and that should be fine. And great, so you have Python 3.6.8, you have the Twitter API keys and whatnot, and in addition to that, you have a stream. You have OBS Studio. Not gonna say the other one there. And again, so you can always navigate to this Twitter API documentation here, and you can try to figure out how to make your first request. It'll give you some guides here, which is really nice. Postman is probably the best. That's how I got to learn how to use the Twitter API. So you can view the collection. If you go to this link, it'll actually open a Postman account, a tab, and you can actually make requests here. Well, not here because you then have to fork this to your own Postman account. But it's a really good way to kind of practice how to utilize the Twitter API. So now that we've gone over the tools and gone over the goal of the project, now I'm going to show you how to implement the tool. So I'm going to navigate to OBS, and it's going to look a little weird because it's going to be a screen within a screen because I'm recording my screen here. So this is it. Now I can see myself. So there I am. Hello. And so what you want to do is you want to navigate under this tools section, and you want to go to scripts. So once you are here, you can click on this. And again, hopefully this doesn't mess with the recording, but we'll see. And I have this thing loaded here. You can see I have app.py loaded. But the first thing you want to do before you worry about loading any scripts or anything like that, you want to go to your Python settings, and it should look something similar to this. So where Python 36 is downloaded on my machine, I have put the install path to here. So OBS requires the path to here to execute these Python files. So, and again, make sure depending on your machine, you have downloaded to a specific the type of machine that you have. So you can see this installation of OBS is 64-bit. So I have Python 36, but it's the 64-bit version. And again, if you have OBS 32-bit, make sure that you use Python 36, 32-bit, if that exists. But in my case, it's 64-bit. So I have this one available. It even tells you right here, which is nice. And if you navigate over to scripts, you'll see that I have a loaded script, and you'll see within my own script, it says sending a tweet when the stream starts and when the stream ends. So you can see this is my coding stream, and this is my ending stream. So I wrote starting coding stream, check it out here. So I put the link to to my Twitter, to my Twitch here, twitch.tv/DannyChichone. There it is, perfect. So again, that was the goal essentially of what I wanted to do. And you could clone this yourself using GitHub, and you could go ahead and throw it in there. So next, what I'm going to show you here is I'm going to show you the actual code that I utilize. So it might be this is a lot right now, but I'll press enter really quick, and I'll start off with this. So OBS Studio, it gives you some tools available depending on what programming language you're working with. So again, you can work with Lua, the programming language Lua, or you can work with Python. These both will work in OBS Studio, except again, with Python, you need to add your path. So if you go to, I'm not going to go to the documentation right now because it is a little verbose, but what you have to know is that you have to write functions that will be then exported to OBS Studio. And there's several default ones that I'm going to name right now. So one by default that you have to have is, this is the most simplest one. You'll have script underscore description. And you have to make that into a function, and then you'll say return, this is a description. And this is essentially what gets shown when you go to the scripts here, the page. This is actually returning back the essentially the string, the text that's being displayed right here. So that is one function that's going to be displayed. Another one is going to say script loaded. And there is a certain events, there's a certain, how do I want to say it? There's a certain order in which these are executed. Specific, not the description one, that one doesn't matter as much. But script loaded and I'll say pass for now. With Python, you could just pass these functions. And I'll say script underscore update. I think it's updated, I'm pretty sure. Let me just confirm by going down a little bit. So I'll go down here and I'll look at it and I'll say script load, there's one. And yep, okay, so it's called script update, not updated. And this script update takes in this settings here. So this settings is being passed in from OBS Studio, the environment that it's in. When it calls this script update, it's actually passing it a function, essentially, or it's passing it a parameter called settings that you can utilize. That's part of the environment with OBS Studio. So I'll start with here. Oh, in addition to, so with Python, there are several packages that I'm utilizing here. And again, if you're not familiar with packages, I would highly recommend that you look up, pip Python packages. If you are familiar with Node.js, they're essentially the same thing as Node modules. There's packages of code somewhere out there in the world that you download to your machine. So what I have done here is I have the .env package, so that allows me to have environmental variables. So I'm not going to click it, but if I click on this env.example, and you should make this on your own, you should make a .env file, and you should be putting your API key, your secret, token secret, and token inside of here. And I could be more descriptive. I might update it later on, but you probably want to put it there. So using .env, I can actually get these values. So I'm going to actually go down to where I use it. So I'm going to get rid of all of this code here that I just showed you. So inside of, and I'll focus on this part in particular. Let me see if I can do that here. So you can see I have this config.env underscore values of .env. I'm actually getting this .env file from the file system to load for me, which is really nice. And there's actually another little tricky thing here with OBS Studio. The .env file is not in the same directory when you load it into OBS Studio here. So you can see inside of here. So in this certain file area, it's not in the same area actually. So what you have to do is, again, I just talk about it inside of the description. If I go to my repo, I'll go back to my repo really quick, and I'll actually go back. No, I think it's GitHub, and then let me go to Twitch, and I'll go back to here. And again, when you go here, you should see, did I do it? Yeah, so make sure to add your .env file actually to this directory. So it should be program files where OBS Studio is downloaded, then bin and 64-bit, and make sure to add your .env file there with all of the required items. And if I navigate to mine in particular, so I'm gonna go to here, I'm gonna navigate to my desktop. Actually, I'm gonna go to C, program files. Finally, I'll find OBS Studio down here, bin, 64-bit. You should see how I have this .env file. I'm actually utilizing it here. So that is what I'm doing there. And let's see what else is happening here. So again, yeah, I mentioned there are these script functions that I'm doing. So I'm getting, again, my config has all of my env variables, so my API key, access token, Twitter secret, token secret. And in addition to the .env package, I'm also using TwiPy. So TwiPy is a Twitter API package that makes it a lot easier to interact with the Twitter API. So instead of having to utilize the requests package from Python, I'm just using TwiPy because someone built this, framework to make it really easy to use the Twitter API. So that's really nice. So it takes in. So what I did is I imported the API, I guess function or class from twypy.api, and I brought it into here. I'm utilizing my config variables, my env variables here to create a client. And now this client can actually call the API and make requests to their server, which will then allow me to post my tweets and whatnot, which is really nice. And there's some OBS things here that it took a little bit of research for me to do. So for instance, I made some signal handlers that'll check whenever I switch my scenes essentially inside of OBS Studio. So that's also very nice. So let's get down to the actual important stuff here. So once this is actually loaded, then you have this script properties. This is actually going to create this. If I navigate back to OBS Studio and go back to my scripts, this actually creates this start tweet and end tweet little text area here. So this is really nice, and it takes in some text. So I put here start tweet. This is the variable that it is in my settings. This is the text is actually showing the input, and then you have to place this fourth argument here. Finally, anytime that you are typing in something into the text input, you are going to be executing this script update function that is then interacting with this data class that I created here, and it's going to be getting the string of this specific text input and setting it for start tweet. And then anytime I activate or deactivate a source, I'm going to be running this function here. And it's saying, okay, if I'm not streaming yet, but I just started, based on this function here, I'm going to now send my start tweet, and same thing here, deactivated. If I am not streaming anymore, but it says my streaming variable is still streaming, it's going to say false, and it's going to say send end tweet. So finally, I have my send start tweet, and I am saying, oh, print it out, because I was debugging earlier, so I have some print statements around here. But specifically, you can see that I interact with the Twitter API by using client.api.statuses.update.post. Status equals data._start tweet tweet start tweet. And this is essentially a string. So I could if you wanted to, you could even edit this code and say hello. And now if you start your stream and you switch scenes, now it's gonna tweet out hello. But it's not very descriptive. And I decided to say data._start tweet so that it is modifiable inside of this scripts handler here. And just to prove to you that this works, I'm going to go to here. I'm going to start the stream. And again, hopefully this works. It should be working. I tested it several times, but you never know. So you'll see here it says script log, script. So the script is loaded now. So if I start streaming, so let's see what happens there. So you can see it kind of went away. And now if I navigate whiteboard and then navigate back to sharing screen, let's see what happened there. Look, starting coding stream, twitch.tv/DannyJustJones. So now we're live. Now we're on Twitch. If I navigate to Twitch right now on my computer here, I can go to my website here, and oh, look at that. Oh, this is a little bit trippy, but you can see if I go to my channel in particular, you can see. Click on this. All right, and I'm back. With the power of editing, I have made it look like that this is a continuation. So things went horribly wrong with that last recording. I'll post another video of that. That's very funny. But I'll show you essentially what happened here is now if I navigate over to my Twitter, when I started my stream and I switched, this is a funny tweet. When I started my stream and I switched scenes, I sent out this start coding stream. Fantastic. And I put a link to it. Which is very fun. And in addition to that, when I ended the stream and I switched scenes again, I showed this ending the stream sign, which was very fun. So yeah, again, thank you for joining me. This is very fun to build this, and I would highly recommend that you look into this if you're interested in streaming or just wanted to mess around with some Python and OBS at all. It's very interesting to work with. And yeah, and again, I'll post a link to the description for the repository. I'll post a link to the repository in the description. So yep, thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.